It's time once again for another edition of Talk to Me. And now, here's Emmy himself, 8-time Emmy Award-winning journalist, Maynard Eaton.
Hello, friends, and welcome to a special edition of Talk to Me, because this is a special weekend in Atlanta, the NBA AllStar Game, and joining me to talk about that and other things is the new Fulton County Sheriff Patrick LaBat and Jim Welcome, who is a restaurant consultant. Sheriff, welcome to joining us. Jim, how are you?
Good afternoon, Maynard. How are you?
Sheriff, 60 days plus in office. Now you have this big weekend upon you, the NBA All-Star Game. Are you concerned about increasing crime this weekend?
Well, you're absolutely right. Pardon the pun. We're a little over 60 days in. And with that in mind, we have been laser focused on our community. But in terms of being concerned, we are certainly prepared. And I remind everybody in Atlanta, everything's an All-Star Weekend. So it's a wonderful opportunity, but we have prepared accordingly. Certainly, work our Chief Brian and the Atlanta Police Department. We are ready.
You know, last weekend, 10 people were shot just last Sunday. Last year, 157 homicides. From where you sit as the high sheriff, what's going on, sir? What's causing this?
Well, the pandemic certainly hadn't helped. We are in a space where people are wanting to get out. Our state is not closed, unlike many other states across the country. So we have been in a position where we've gotten an inordinate amount of visitors, and so continue to be in a position where we will serve constituents. But it is an opportunity for us to show, as we've done in the past, how good Atlanta is and why people move here so often. But to that end, we have ample resources out. There are certainly other circumstances surrounding us being grouped together and for long periods of time. And so there's frustration out there. There's an opportunity for us to do better. And we will as a city and as a county.
Jim, welcome. You're a consultant to several restaurants, part owner of the BQE on Edgewood Avenue. What are you expecting this weekend in terms of crowds? Will your clubs be overwhelmed with visitors and patrons?
Well, you know, we don't character. We're not a club. We're a restaurant. So about 50, more than 50% of our sales are food sales. So we don't expect anything. We do expect more people in town, and we think the impact will be great for the city. We think, however, that as you move later on into the club scene, then of course that's going to put a stress on the local police and their ability to control the level of crowds. But I don't expect that we're going to see what we've seen in the past for All-Star Weekend. I think the crowd will be reduced probably as much as 30%, just based on the reservations and the calls that we've been getting.
But now you're overwhelmed with reservations already for tonight. 600 reservations for Saturday, right? What about?
Yeah. Well, that's the nature. But that's the nature of BQE. BQE is a hybrid in Atlanta. We were the first one to pretty much do what we do. So we always have 300 to 400 reservations every weekend, except during the pandemic, of course. But we expect we are booked. We do have an overwhelming number of people, so much so that we've had to expand our space.
Sheriff, what's new for you? I mean, you following the steps of Richard Langford and Jackie Barrett and Myron Freeman, but you're bringing a new approach, a new philosophy to Fulton County Sheriff's Office, as I understand it. Is that correct?
These are focused on service. None of the previous, and I certainly appreciate all of their input, all of their support, and really focusing on law enforcement as we begun to move forward. But no other sheriff at this point has had to deal with the pandemic on the tail end of where we are. So we are laser focused on really treating people to be treated. I commonly say, you heard me say, from a law enforcement perspective, it is our job to extend the olive branch. It is our job to help heal our community. And so we've begun along those very same lines of extending that olive branch, providing customers, but really leaning into law enforcement. So on the other
Yeah.
hand, we have to people understand that if you are coming to Fulton County to hurt, harm, or any of our visitors or our residents, then it's the sheriff's office along with other law enforcement to deal with that.
So in other words, you're suggesting, I think I heard you say previously, there are going to be more sheriff's officers on the street actually policing. Is that correct? Not just jailing. Is
So
that the message?
that is that. So one of my goals over 4 years is to put 200 deputies on the street next month, and I'm certainly this is breaking news for you. We are putting a crime suppression team on the streets of Fulton County, designed specifically, and please note, I didn't say arrest team. We are putting a crime suppression team on the streets of Fulton County to really be laser focused on those crimes and those people that are committing those crimes that mean us no good, and are really surrounding and embracing the law enforcement aspect of the sheriff's office.
Jim, as
Yeah.
a businessman, as an entrepreneur, does that ring
Well,
well for you, especially along Edgewood Avenue in
yeah,
Atlanta?
I like the tone of the sheriff's um, approach to law
Yes, sir.
enforcement. I think the first thing that he mentioned before he even mentioned law enforcement was extending an olive branch and greeting our visitors as well as our citizens in a more cordial manner. But at the same time, enforcing the laws. That's a great perspective for a law enforcement officer to have in these days and times. I think it's what's necessary not only in Atlanta but all over this country. It's nice to find a law enforcement officer, especially the guy at the head of the totem pole, who approaches it from that perspective. A lot of times, trouble happens especially with the younger crowd, that 25 to 35 group of people, because of aggressive or over aggressive policing. But policing with an eye towards uh, uh, enjoy yourself, but you can't break any laws in this town is and not looking for the problem is what this town needs, because Atlanta is, if you will, the black mecca of the world, as everyone sees it, especially when it comes to music, entertainment, and the like. So they tend to come here, and basically an extended olive branch is half the ball game.
Sheriff, does that reputation of Atlanta being the black mecca and its entertainment offerings put more pressure on you and your deputies to extend that olive branch and to get the job done? Is that Atlanta's kind of reputation tough for you to police?
Well, I'd say no, because I'm from here, born and raised right here, from with a younger audience, with those that feel as though there's a wrong way to do things. And from that customer service perspective, we need to really stay laser focused on two of three things in every conversation. The first being thank you, the second being please, and more importantly, how may we help you? You know, one of my Metro Atlanta sheriffs loves to, and it's a great point, right? How do we cause less pain in this environment? And so while we will not tolerate misconduct and those that mean us harm, it is our job to protect those and provide services for individuals that are just simply having a good time. And so we will ask all of our, in this case, and club owners after the game to be very mindful of the hurt and harm that comes along with things like overcrowding, right, in the midst of this pandemic. So we stand ready to help, and we're excited about the opportunity.
given what happened with Black Lives Matter this past summer and other across the country, is there a new day in policing now? Is there a new attitude, a new way of policing now that you think as a result of what happened in 2020? Sheriff?
Absolutely. There are some old opportunities, but we have to, as law enforcement, we have to be better engaged. And it's the little things that matter, right? So instead of having a service division, we have engagement division, right? Our job is to engage and make sure that we're part of the solution. I mean, if we stand by idly and do nothing, then that makes us the continued part of the problem. And so that's the focus. People expect more. When you learn more, people expect more, and we want to focus on.
Jim, what are you hearing from young people today? I mean, you're an OG, but you still have the street creds. What are young people telling you about what's happening out there? Is there a different attitude among young people now than perhaps a couple of years ago? Is there more violent prone than perhaps in the past?
I think that the question of violence arises out of poverty. Most of the people that you will see committing crimes in this town, when you get right down, if you would do a background check on everybody that gets busted robbing somebody's home or mugging somebody, in those cases, it's generally a case of poverty. A person doesn't have access to opportunity. A person doesn't have access to resources that he needs to live a decent life. Then, of course, you've got the real bad guys, and the real bad guys need to be dealt with strongly, and that's. But you have to not get the bad guys mixed up with the good guys or the people who are broke. That's the task of the police department. Now, what I see all the time is, I've got 50 of those people who work for me every day. The girls and the girls who are our servers and our hostesses and their boyfriends. I get to interface with them often, and the most part, they're not even a part of those who work are not even a part of that issue that we have. It's those who don't have jobs, those that don't have access to resources, those that aren't educated well enough. Those are the people. So we have to find a mechanism by which to deal with that portion of our community. Our community is fine for the most part, but there's a huge segment of that community that's disenfranchised. When nihilism sets in, that's when the problem begins because it's the loss of all hope. So, as far as the people who are coming out, these people basically, most of 99.1% of the people who are going to come out this weekend came to have a good time. They came into the city with X number of dollars of disposable income. But there will be those who are not capable of being out there, who will be out there with the intent of taking advantage of the situation and profiting off of the pain of others. That's what's out there.
Sheriff,
That's what's going on.
Sheriff, what's your response to that? What do you make of what Jim Welcome just said? Does that ring true with you, Sheriff?
Well, it does, but I'm here. Yeah,
I said, does that
it
ring
does.
true?
The other piece, it does, but the other piece that we need to keep in mind, and I want to make sure people always remember that when these bad actors, bad guys, uh, there's also times victims that get left out of the conversation. And so I agree with Jim. We need to find ways to provide opportunities. As you know, uh, um, we put together the best reentry programs in the country when I was with the city, and we will focus on doing the same thing uh, for returning citizens at the county. So there are mechanisms to do that. I believe we need to get in our schools a little early, but again, the pandemic has really put brakes on a lot of that, and so we have to really we want to wrest our way out of this problem. We have to figure out together along with the community conversations now, which I applaud you for, are the beginning of the conversations of how we begin to heal. And so, to that point, I just like to make sure we don't leave out the victims in the conversation.
Gentlemen, I thank you both. I hope you both have an all-star weekend in your respective ways, and I really appreciate you joining us. So thank you both, Sheriff and Jim. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, and thank you, Sheriff.